Today we are going to make an apple pie, and we're going to start with a basic crust. It's important to do the crust first because it can rest while everything else is being made. We're going to start with 2 1/4 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt, table salt goes in there. If you're going to use kosher salt, use twice as much, so 1/2 teaspoon. While we cut up, cube the sugar, or the butter that goes in there, 7 ounces of butter. I'm going to cube it fairly small. So we're going to put this in there, in the mixer bowl. Spread it around. And I'm even going to get my hands in there and dust those cubes so they stay separated from each other rather than clumped together. I just want this to mix until the butter becomes about the size of kernels of corn or small peas. It's really become incorporated in there. So we're gonna put the mixer on. With the mixer on, we're going to add a tablespoon of honey vinegar for a nice taste, but you can use cider. You wouldn't want to use white vinegar. I'm just going to drizzle in without measuring the water. I'm just going to drizzle it in while the mixer is running, really slowly. It's even a little damp, but what you really want to pay attention to is that you haven't over mixed it. You can see that there's bits of butter in there still. Just with a few quick strokes on the parchment, get it into a ball. And then flatten it out to a disc and chill it. Now for the apple part, we're going to use Granny Smith apples, but any firm tart apple will work well. You don't want a delicious or something that has a loose texture because it won't hold up in the pie. And ideally the crust should rest about an hour, just to give those glutens in the flour time to relax. Cut these anyway. You can cube them, you can slice them, make them small. I want to know that I'm eating an apple, so I'm going to leave them pretty chunky. So for the apple pie filling, I have all the apples cut into chunks. I'm going to add some vanilla extract. I'm going to add some cinnamon, a tablespoon of flour, and a cup of golden cane sugar. Granulated sugar would work. Brown sugar would be delightful, but I like golden cane sugar. And let that sit. As it sits, the juices from the apple will extract and make this lovely sauce. I'm gonna put 8 ounces of bread flour, 8 ounces of bread flour, 8 ounces of golden cane sugar. Again, brown sugar would work. White sugar wouldn't be quite as delicious. 4 ounces of rolled oats, a big pinch of kosher salt, and then I have 8 ounces of butter that I'm going to cube. Put that in there and let the mixer work. Just grate some nutmeg, the zest of 1 lemon. This will give it a little spark, especially if you're using a sweeter apple. And then the juice of this lemon as well. I'm just gonna smear some butter in here. Get it in all the nooks and crannies. You can still mix a little bit of that butter in there. Now we're going to roll the pie shell. I'm going to flour my table well. So we're going to roll from the center out, turn it, and smear the flour around on the table so that there's no sticking. Nice and even so that it bakes evenly. The end goal is to be able to see the patterns of the flour and the table underneath your dough. I'm going to simply drape this into the pie pan. So just lift up the crust and push it into the corners. And lift it up all the way around into the corners. Now I'm going to cut off the excess. And now time for the filling to go in. You can see that some juice has already started in there. That's just going to get better as the pie bakes. And then time for the streusel topping. We just pile this on, kind of pack it down in there. Get it down into the edges. And we're going to bake this at 350 degrees for about an hour. Depending on the size of your pan, how accurate your oven is, it's going to vary. The goal is to have bubbles all around and coming out the center. When there are bubbles in the center, the pie is done. For about an hour to an hour and a half.